Welcome! If you're new to my channel, my name's Christina, and in this week's video I'm really excited to share an extreme bedroom makeover. I'm going to talk you through the process as well as my supplies, so let's jump into the video. Having recently moved into a 132-year-old heritage home, this is going to be a spare room. I have been doing over the entire house, but just kind of giving it a clean canvas mostly so far. But now that a lot of the supplies that I have finally arrived, now I can get into a lot more color, some more detail, and hopefully give more depth and dimension to some of the rooms, even in upcoming videos. But I'm going to be starting with this room, which I'm super excited because a lot of the supplies I've been waiting for months have finally arrived. Now, because of the age of this house, there's a lot of plaster walls. And with plaster walls, there's a lot of rippling, there's a lot of little kind of imperfections to it. And even knowing the paint can really cover it up, I really want to add a lot more depth and character and a lot more color within all the rooms that I've already been making over. Wallpaper is a terrific design aspect for a lot of room makeovers, but you don't have to wallpaper all your walls. You can just do accent walls, which will really put some highlights and some embellishment into the rooms. Some amazing textures as well as paintable wallpapers as well. Recreating this entire house and its space has been a lot of fun, but it's a long process. Most of the rooms that I've done have been more of the neutral palettes, whereas I do want to get into a lot more depth and color. But like I said, it just takes time and it takes some layers, and you also need time to think about what it is you want to do with those spaces. But starting with a good clean canvas is an excellent way to go. The entire house was basically yellow, a little bit of green, and all brown doors and trims. So it's been nice just to give everything a really good fresh makeover. But for this room, I'm starting with the ceilings, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite thing to paint. As much as I love to paint, it's not my favorite. But with 132-year-old frames and baseboards, there's a lot of imperfections in this house, meaning it's got age, it's shifted, there's a lot of planing on those baseboards, and the plaster walls have an eggshell paint, which really grabs the light. And it looks like there's a semi-gloss to a gloss on the actual baseboards as well as the wood trim and window frames. And what happens is when the light comes in, it just shines all of these plaster imperfections as well as all the little knocks and dings that come with these old heritage homes. But I've lived in new developments, I've lived in newer homes, and they too can have their little imperfections. And always remember, as we get into the design of this room, when you're dealing with walls and you're dealing with a corner of walls, they're not always straight. So you kind of have to make your own version of straight. So what's lovely is all of the rooms actually have this picture rail, and that's what I'm painting. I'm using a Benjamin Moore ceiling paint, but I'm going to go all the way to that picture rail. Now the key trick is when you're going to be doing a very contrast color change is I need to create kind of a faux straight line. So that's why you're seeing me put the tape up the way I am. So I'm kind of going into the other wall, but it's also because I'm going to be using some wallpaper. So just getting everything cleaned and ready to go and setting up my tape barriers. Because I'm going to be using wallpaper, I kind of want to make sure that the paint is going to overlap from the wall to where the wallpaper is. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about in just a few minutes. You can see that the high gloss and semi-gloss finishes have a much higher sheen, and the light really grabs that. But when you start to get into kind of low luster, eggshells, mattes, and flat ultra matte, which is my personal favorite, then the light doesn't grab it and the imperfections don't show so much. I prefer to use a very thick paint. So generally a lot of the really good premium paints out there are going to be super thick, which means I kind of need to add less coats, and I've got a lot to cover, especially with this brown. I want to paint them white, and I have been really reluctant in this entire house about using white, and it's just time consuming because I know no matter how good quality of paint I use, I'm going to need a minimum of 3 coats to cover the brown. I've been actually testing it out by using a lot of the black as a trim, and I adore it. I think it actually looks really sharp, but I think I've actually kind of taken it a little too far. I absolutely love the black that I've used, but I think I might dial it back a little bit, even knowing I'm going to have to paint a lot more layers in order to get a bright white. Plus, I would like to see if the ultra matte white is actually going to do really good coverage as it did with the black. The other thing I really recommend if you're going to have like a round area in your home and you're going to be taping off is to use tiny bits of the tape. Tearing off those little tiny bits will help you maneuver around a curved edge. I'm really curious to see how my first coat of the white will look. As I mentioned, I've been using the onyx black and Athenium black in my previous tutorials, and I was just really concerned that by using the white, even in an ultra matte, it wasn't really going to mask a lot of the imperfections. As I get into the second coat, I'm actually pleasantly surprised how well the matte finish is actually masking the imperfection even in the white. So I may go back to a few of my rooms in my previous tutorials and actually just kind of highlight them up into the white. Ryan was kind enough to come and help me with some of the painting as well as the wallpapering after work during this makeover week. This makeover actually did take me 4 full days, only because I had a lot of layers with the white, but I do appreciate the extra set of hands. Now, by extending the paint 1 inch out before you wallpaper will really help, because we're dealing with non-straight lines. We kind of need to create these faux lines, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. The outside of the door and the door frame is Onyx by Benjamin Moore, so I'm just kind of carrying that through right now and just keeping it simple and kind of unified with what's going on the outside in the hallway. But as you can see, it goes on as smooth as butter, really easy, and it's such an easy fix from the black. But everything in trims, windows, and doors is brown. That's why I veered towards the black, because it was such an easy coverage versus the white. But I have this little tape trick that I run around and do around all my windows, because we're going from a plaster line to a wood frame, and there's quite a little cut edge, so I create this kind of faux look with the black. And the reason I need to do that is because I'm also going to be wallpapering around this, and I can't wallpaper right up to the frame. It's not going to grab. So I'm going to be using this Cambrian blue, and it's an actual gorgeous color. And everything that I'm using for colors and products will be in the description box below. This room actually has an interesting kind of layout, considering we have this big curved wall in there. So what I want to do is kind of create a light and colorful atmosphere, but mostly depth with the wallpapers I've chosen. I love seeing when walls can complement both with design and color. It kind of just makes the room feel a little bit more with personality, rather than just 4 straight walls with paint or 4 straight walls with wallpaper. I find with too much wallpaper, it's a little bit confusing to the eye, so if you can kind of mix it up a little bit, it can be really complementary. I really want to show you an easy trick to keep your paint lines perfectly straight. I've been watching videos on pro painters, and they can come in and paint this room in less than a day. Meanwhile, it took me 4 days to do it. I got some really good tips. So I just wanted to show you up close again when you're dealing with matte finishes. As you can see, the light doesn't pick those up on the far left bars of example on this Benjamin Moore sheet. But as you get into eggshells and kind of those luster, semi-gloss, and gloss finishes, you can see how the light picks those up. So again, when you're dealing with a room that's got a lot of knocks and dings to it, as you can see, if you use the ultra matte finishes, the light doesn't pick it up so much, so it just kind of scales those imperfections back, and it looks flatter to the eye. Again, just showing you all the different types of blues that you could use depending on the natural light that you have. And again, I'll leave these all in the description box below. Because these baseboards are so old, they're not straight, so even using a really good painter's brush and a really good angle brush is not going to give me a straight line. So what I'm doing is I'm actually using that white trim that I've started with, and I'm going to run it right across the tape. And you don't need very much, just a little tiny bit, and you're just painting the tape edge first and let it dry. I've been getting a lot of practice with some wallpapering, and it's never been so easy with clear all covering adhesive. It's new and improved. It's not like the old wallpaper pasting methods that we used to use. Everything you need is in this one bucket. All you need is the brush and the wallpaper palette, so that way you can smooth it out as you apply your wallpaper. So this is a textured wallpaper that I chose that I just wanted to put around the smaller wall around the door. I also decided to bring in the blue all the way around the picture rail frame, all the way around the room to bring it together. I thought it would go really well with just creating a little bit more embellishment for the room, and again, just creating more depth and dimension. The other really nice part is you can paint them. They're paintable wallpapers, but I've actually been enjoying the fact of just the texture itself and the design without painting it. Or if you change your mind later on down the road, and you could paint it. So I have another wallpaper we're going to be adding to the other side. Use the wall color on the top of your baseboard color. So now that everything is dry, all you're going to be doing is taking that wall paint color that you've chosen, and you're now going to put it on top of the trim color. So as you can see, I put the trim color, which was white, and now I'm bringing that blue down. When I remove the tape, you'll see a nice clean line. If you're going to take a break, just put your paintbrushes into a bag, and this will help prevent that the paint won't dry and wreck your bristles. So as you can see, I'm removing the tape, and you can see how beautiful and clean the lines are. So this is going to kind of prevent any of the bleeding through of either color, and it gives you a nice crisp, clean line. But as I mentioned, just make sure that if you're going to add that little bit of white on, or your trim color, before you add your wall color, is just a little tiny bit on top of the actual painter's tape. So I know plaster walls can be dry, but as I was lifting up the tape, I actually ripped off the original colors. And what was interesting, as I went back, I noticed that the colors that was previous to even what's on the wall right now, I'm guessing the room was a light blue at some point back in the day. Anyhow, if that ever happens to you and you've actually ripped some paint off a plaster wall, you just need to get some plaster patch. But since we're going to be wallpapering the area, I'm just going to leave it for now, but they do have wallpaper patch, so that way you could just smooth out the surface. This was the other wallpaper that I chose, and I just thought it would be so perfect for this room, and considering of the blue colors that I chose. I have to admit, I've been shopping online a lot, which I find a little trickier than going into shops to physically see it for myself, but I think I did pretty good considering the match, and I think this is really going to warm and add movement to the room. So again, dealing with such an old home, there's been a lot of shifting, and a lot of the walls and the corners, including the window frames, are not straight. So we're kind of having to do a little bit of physics. So as you can see, I put the wallpaper completely straight, but the wall is not completely straight. So this is where you're going to have to kind of make these little edge cuts using an X-Acto knife in your wallpaper to try to fill it in to make it look like it's straight. Wallpapering is actually quite easy, and they've actually made it a lot easier with these new and improved pastes. It's just really lining up your pattern. Once you've lined it up, you just make your cuts for what you need, and even when you get to an edge like a window here, you're just going to actually run the wallpaper to that edge, and you're just going to use an X-Acto knife, and you're just going to be able to cut it down, and this will give you a precision cut. I love finding novelty things just like this cast iron switch plate, and I bought this a long time ago at a shop, but if I find any more, I will definitely leave it in the description box below. But for the other switch plates, I just used the Krylon flat black, and it's perfect. It's great for metals and plastics. Just spraying it onto your old switch plate so this way you can change up the colors. Now, if I had my way, I would have made them white or blue, but the problem is that the actual electrical insert on the inside was black. So if the switch blade itself was white, it would kind of have a contrast to that. So as you can see, I'm running into these little slivers, and I'm having to make these small little cuts to run the line all the way around the window frame. And it's actually quite easy. It's just the best thing you can do is line up your pattern, and wherever you need to make those little cuts, it actually will go along quite quickly. So don't feel intimidated to do wallpapering. Trust me, it's a lot easier than it looks. Now, because this window frame is nowhere near straight, what I did is I took the black onto the wall, so that way as I make my cuts for the wallpaper, I could kind of make a faux straight line out of it. But I still made a little bit of a mistake there. My pattern at the end didn't quite match, but if I can't see it, I'm hoping nobody else will. Overall, I'm really pleased with going with the two different wallpapers within the space. I purchased a new memory foam mattress and a bed, and I really wanted to go with my Daybed. These memory foams are great. As soon as they come out of the box and you take out the packaging, it literally just rises. It takes about 24 hours, but it's so much easier to maneuver, and especially with that really narrow and very steep staircase, this is such an easier way to bring a new mattress up into these rooms. Maneuvering mattresses up and down stairs is difficult. Overall, I am so pleased with the results, and I upcycled the desk, the chairs, I've even made the throw pillows, and all of those are available on my channel if you'd like to kind of recreate and restyle and recycle your spaces. So I do believe that you can make over a space. It doesn't have to be hugely expensive, and I'm really looking forward to making my own duvet cover, more pillows, and added accessories, just thrift shopping in some upcoming videos. But I think the overall room has a great balance and a great start point.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Oh, you and I, we got it. Oh, we don't need no can weather any storm. Before I sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon. Side by side and through. No limit to what we can do.
Thank you so much for joining me in this week's video, and please, if you have any questions and or comments, I really love to read your comments. Leave me a comment in the comment box below. All the supplies that I've used for the video will also be found in the description box below. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and hit the notification bell. That will tell you when I upload my next video. I have so many more fun DIYs, room makeovers, and furniture transformations to share with you soon. Until then, take care. I'm really looking forward to seeing you soon. Are you going to sit down? Guys, sit there. Are you sitting there? No, we can't have you chewing right now. Can you chew that in just like a few minutes? You're just shaking the camera. No, you can't have coffee. Can I just have like 2 minutes? Do you guys want to go outside? Do you want to go outside? No. There's no moving? No? No. You didn't wallpaper. You can't have any credit. Can you guys... No? No moving? I know. And in this week's video, I really wanted to share a flummoxed. Is that a word? Flummoxed. Hadley. What's that? You want to come over here? You want to come say hello? Forget my name. Hadley Raphael.